Well, as you saw in the title, I finally watched Parasyte. And for me, it's been a long time coming, having been told to watch it multiple times by a few friends of mine, and well, I finally got around to it. And well, it's really good. Just straight up, I don't really know what you expected me to say, whether you were expecting some sort of quote unquote hot take, or me to slander the show or say it's trash. It really isn't. In terms of purely writing, it's incredibly well done. The visuals as well are, for its time, very good. The animation quality is up there, and obviously there's a lot more to that. The story is very, very good. As I said, well written. The characters within that story are great, and the development they undergo. Obviously, the prime example of that is the main character, Izumi Shinichi, and obviously his development is one of the core focuses of the show, as we see him go from a standard human being to having a relationship with the parasite in his hand, to becoming physically entwined with it, and then at the end where he is a bit, well, somewhere in between the midpoint and the starting point. And alongside that, we also see him physically, as in the way he appears, in 4 different styles, each of which represent a different mental state for the main character. We have him at the beginning, when he is himself, when he's wearing his glasses, he has his hair down. Then we see him after obviously spoilers in this video, I should have mentioned that earlier, but yeah, there will be spoilers. Then we see him with how he is after his mother's death, when we see the biggest change in his personality, obviously reflected by having the most distinct change in his visuals. And obviously, as he's becoming quote-unquote more monster-like, as Migi, his right hand, is becoming more and more human-like. But we'll get into that later, I say later, in a bit when we talk about Migi. Then we see him during the small stint where he is fighting Goto, and then very briefly right at the end, right toward the end of the last episode, where we see him, studying for his college entrance exams after he failed them. And that is the 4th iteration of Shinichi we see, and each of them have a different mental state reflecting with them. And then, as I alluded to earlier, we have Migi, his right hand, his parasite. Obviously, initially starts out very cold, very methodical, very logical. And as the story progresses, we see Migi start to act differently, to think differently, to talk differently. Still has that very proper and eloquent way of speaking. However, the things he says and the way he says them begin to shift as he himself becomes more human-like, as he spends more time with Shinichi and biologically and psychologically adjusts accordingly, especially when he integrates his cells into Shinichi and has that period of time where he has to sleep like like a human being, where you're completely inactive, and not how parasites normally sleep, but they are still at least aware of any threats or the like around them. Migi obviously doesn't undergo any physical changes. He is Shinichi's right hand, so you could argue that Shinichi's changes visually correspond with Migi as well, but that's neither here nor there. And obviously there's the rest of the cast, who get, obviously, less focus on them, especially when it comes to their development and how we view them, because the story is obviously told from Shinichi's perspective. We see him all the time. He is the main character. We follow him throughout basically the entire story, except a handful of scenes. But they're all really well written. I really like them. The voice cast in the show is incredible. Like, they got a really good cast of seiyus. Yeah, it's a really well written series with really well written characters who develop really realistically. And it's a story that you can infer certain messages from. For example, why are people here? What is the relationship human beings should have with the world around them? And I'm sure that if you read into the dialogue more, look at the visual metaphors that go with them, the music choices, the direction that the show has, if you look at all of that and analyze it to a greater detail, I'm sure you'll come out with much more, and I'm sure people already have, given the show's relatively old at this point, and I'm very much late to the party. But I've only just finished watching it as I'm recording this. It'll probably have been about a week from when I'm recording this to when it goes up, so I'll have had some time to probably not have actually thought about it and just moved on to shoveling more media into my brain. But Parasyte is just good. It's just really, really good quality writing. Has it left an impact with me as much as some of my favourite shows have? No. However, that doesn't take away from the quality of, as I said, the writing and the direction the show has. It just means it's not the 9 out of 10, the 10 out of 10 territory for me. Because the shows in that area tend to hit a little different. God, that really doesn't explain it, does it? But Parasyte for me, it didn't have like this emotional impact or anything similar to that some of the other shows I've watched have. But it is still an incredibly good watch, and if, like me, you haven't seen Parasyte or hadn't seen Parasyte until recently, well, if you have seen it, obviously, I can't really tell you to go check it out because you've already seen it, but maybe rewatch it or think about it a little more. Because it's really good, and it was just an enjoyable watch, even if you don't think about it any deeper than just shovel media into your brain, like I tend to. But yeah, if you like this video, leave a like, comment, sub, hit the notification bell, you know the usual YouTube thing. And I've been Animosity, you've been you. See you all next time for another video. Ta-ta, for now.